Now we're ready to actually do our compilation and create lines and polygons. So we want to have our map in position. We can kind of admire it, and you'll have all of your mapping throughout the entire area. But up here in the demonstration area, I want to say a couple general points. One is you can certainly compare with the other base maps. So if you remember, right now I have put the rectified field map at the bottom under the base maps, and as long as it's there, then when you turn the base maps on, they'll be evident above it. So you can think about the geomorphology and how it compares with the mapping. And then the other thing you can do is if you turn on the ortho imagery, you can zoom in and maybe check some of the geology if you'd like, and compare and say, okay, well, that's interesting to see some of the colors. So this is an important point. There's no need to edit or change the mapping from what you have from the field. So if what you have from the field is not quite correct, that's okay, because this exercise is really about digitizing and compiling. However, if you want to change it a little bit based on obvious relationships, you may. But I don't want you to feel a lot of pressure to change it. I'm not going to grade the content. This grading is going to be purely on the map compilation. But if you see some things you want to change, you may. So let's zoom out. You can use these little buttons up here to use the fixed zoom out. So what we need is two toolbars. So here's our georeferencing toolbar. If it's still out, you can, if you undock it, then you can close it and get rid of it, keep things tidy. And then under customized toolbars, let's get the editor. And like I said, I like to sort of dock these. And then the other toolbar we need is advanced editing. So that's important. We need editor and advanced editing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make the contacts and faults first. And then from those we'll do the polygons. So we'll do the polygons second. And the interesting thing about this method is somewhat different than we did before, is we only have to do the boundaries once. So if you remember from our Dreamy Draw exercise, we would draw the contacts, and then we had to click back through and actually click along the same exact contact line with the edge of the polygon. And so that's kind of redundant, and actually it's potentially inaccurate. And so what we're going to do now is we'll draw our lines, and then we're going to basically select the lines that surround the polygon, and we'll create the polygon. And I'll demonstrate that. A couple other things to remember is we want to keep our lines short. And what you do is you click to start, then you click for each vertex, and then you double click to end, and then you repeat. And so what that will do is it ends up, you'll see, it makes for an easier construction of the various polygons. And we'll want to do the bigger polygons, the bigger areas first, and you'll want to practice, and if things mess up, you can delete them. I'll show you, and make sure you save often. So a key thing I want to say, and I'll say this a couple of times, is that over here on the left under File is a place where you can say Save, and that saves the project, including kind of how you're displaying and so forth. But what the other thing is, under Editor, there's another save, and this one is the one that you have to do because it saves the lines or other features that you've created. If you don't save here and you think you're saving over under File, you'll be in for a surprise and be really frustrating. So just save all the time, because you can always delete something. But this is a common problem, common frustration for students, is that they didn't save under the editor, and so they work for 2 hours and suddenly all these things are gone. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we want to do is we'll go editor, start editing, and then click on the what we're going to work on, which is contacts and faults. So this is important. If you're struggling sometimes to select features, it might be that you click the wrong item in this particular dialog. So you say OK. And we get this error because the contours are in a slightly different spatial reference, but don't worry about them, just keep going. And then now under the editor, there's a little icon over here on the right, create features. So we just want to click that. And here's what's really nice and so kind that Dr. DiMaggio made this for us, is she's already kind of pre-programmed all the features. You see contact accurate, contact approximate, and all of our map units and the orientation points. So we don't have to define this as we go. We just pick the one we want. It's like getting a paintbrush. You just choose the thing you want and you just go for it. So right now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a contact accurate, and this is just temporary, but yeah, we'll need it. You guys won't do this, but I'm going to just draw a contact across the bottom of the part of the map that I'm doing, and I need this because it'll help close off the polygons once we start to create them. You won't do that because you're gonna fill the whole thing in. So what you see I did, I just clicked once on the left and I clicked a second time on the right and double clicked. So we've got that done. We made our first line. One other thing we'll want to do before we get really into this is set up something called snapping. And what snapping does is it basically controls how far away we are from a certain line before the line we're going to create will snap to it. And this is pretty common, right? All these lines sort of often start and stop at each other, you know, like a contact may start at another contact. So we want to be able to snap that relationship. So under editor, we're going to go to snapping window, and you see it's kind of pretty fancy. You can sort of snap to all kinds of things. So what we want to do is we want to have our vertices connect to the map border, also the edge and the end, and also we want the contacts and faults. So only those two, because if you don't want to snap to the contours because there'll be so many of them, it'd be very frustrating. Not the others. So that's set. And then the other thing under snapping we want to do is options, and this is snapping tolerance, and change this to 5 pixels. Maybe let's do 10 actually, 10 pixels. And so what this means is if something's within 10 pixels, snap to it. And if you remember from when we did our georeferencing, it said it was going to make a 0.7 or so meter per pixel map, base map. So that means anything within about 7 meters it should snap. So if you're having trouble, you can always come back and change this to be larger or smaller. This is probably a good number though. Okay, let's make some more features. So we just go pick our particular thing we want to make. Let's do continue with contact accurate. So it's good to start at a place where you already have an existing beginning or end. So let's click right at the beginning of that Madeira, and I'm just going to go down along the edge here, and then I'll get to this point and I'll just double click to stop. But I'm going to continue with contact accurate, so I don't have to go get that again. I just start clicking again. So do a few, double click, stop. Now start, and I just keep, you see I don't have to go get it again. I just keep going. Keep going, 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 going. Okay, looks like I'm switching to contact approximate, so I'll go grab that one. Keep going. And right here, stop. Now let's do this one. So you see I'm going to snap to the map edge, go in here, maybe snap to that one, double click. Let's kind of keep going a little bit. Keep going on our line. So we're going to have a contact in there. Let's go maybe just past it. Okay, let's keep going. Same tool. Okay, double click. Let's go across, get that little. So once you've worked for a little while, remember, save your edits. And then let's turn our map off just for a minute. We can see what we've done. So you see already what's satisfying is the line types are correct and they look good, and we can see how we've done. So it's a little bit slow, but it should hopefully not be too difficult to move through these quickly and steadily. Okay, let's look at that one. You see I made a mistake. I was a little sloppy. So let's zoom in. And if I go to the editor, you see this funny little arrow. I can double click on that line. You see it's still selected. Sometimes it takes a moment to grab it. If you're not getting it, one thing is make sure you can right click on the contacts and lines, and you can do selection, make this the only selectable layer. And that, because probably it thought it was getting confused what layer I was trying to pull from. So now when I double click, I can grab these green things, which are the vertexes, the vertices, and I can move them where they need to be. Okay, and then if I just click outside there, then it's fixed. Let's save it. And then just let's zoom out a little bit and just keep going. So we want you to be careful, but you can see you have to find the right amount of sort of pace. I want you to, this shouldn't have to take forever. So if you're a little lacking accuracy here and there, that's okay. One thing you can see here is I'm near the barns, and we actually don't have a good way to map the barns in this project, so you just have to kind of ignore it. Don't worry about it. But we know where it is. We know it's at the bottom of the Dripping Springs. One key point I've learned the hard way is even when you have some of these polygons that are, you could imagine drawing a single line all the way around them. It's best to break them and have more than one line that defines them, because otherwise you'll see once we start to make the polygons that they won't like it. There'll be some problems, and it won't create a polygon. Save again.